They're carved in granite on the National Mall. Not the names of battles or the names of the dead, but the living words of an American who fought against injustice.
What King did, and all the others who were with King, we just can't talk about King alone. What King did was hold a mirror up in the face of America and say, "Is this who we are? Is this who we are?"
I was a young freelance reporter in the summer of 1966, and I went to cover King when he was in a small town west of Chicago, and someone in the crowd threw a brick and hit him in the chest. King's basic belief was that you don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with water. And what's the water? The water of organized resistance, the water of defying corrupt governments. Those were his weapons of the spirit.
Love your enemies, bless those who curse you.
Reverend Perry Smith was a freedom rider, challenging segregation from Washington to Tallahassee.
To say I love you is very nice, but when you are hating me and I can still love you, that's when rubber hits the road. As a minister, of course, I believe strongly in the love ethic. I learned that as a child in Sunday school. And so it was not difficult for me to look in people's faces in whose eyes you could see hatred and look at them in the spirit of love. And when I hate you, it destroys me, the hater. No matter what you're doing to me, I still love you. I refuse to let you make me hate you. I love you.
Our movements, both of our movements, are basically asking for equity. We were asking for equal justice and equal rights and human rights.
As co-founder of the United Farm Workers, Dolores Huerta struggled in the Southwest during the King years, preaching the idea that people, ordinary people, have power.
And of course, the first thing they say, what power do I have? You know, I'm a farm worker. I'm an immigrant, I don't speak English. And so we convince them that the power is in your person. This is the power that you have, and this is all the power that you need. People were beaten, we went to jail many times. I was arrested probably 20-some times. Sometimes you have to create conflict. And of course, this is what Dr. King did. He had to create conflict.
The essence of Dr. King was that he saw laws that were unjust. He broke them, but was willing to suffer the consequences of breaking those laws. He was a person, I think, believed in the rule of law, and he wanted to change those laws that were unfair. And I think that's why Dr. King is such an important person in our history. A private citizen, not a person with an official title, but who changed this nation in fundamental and positive ways.
And that's why he has come to occupy such an important position in American history. Because what we must not do is forget where we came from.
My mom and dad, who were both born in the United States, were sent to internment camps after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. When I was growing up, in fact, most Japanese American parents didn't tell their kids. I did not learn about the internment camps until I was in high school. And I went home and asked them, and my mother started to cry and my father started to yell at me because they were memories that they were really trying to suppress and move on, and they didn't want, their kids to know about that very shameful period in their past. That's how deep the pain was. One of the things that the civil rights movement did for Japanese Americans was it allowed them to actually stand up and say, hey, this happened to us. And it really wasn't fair. In fact, we think it violated the Constitution. And I think that's one of the things that Dr. King was very much about, was being there in the moral moment and saying, this is wrong, and we have to change that. Rights are not secured. Rights aren't just handed over to you. often you have to fight to exercise them. That's another thing that my father used to say to me when I was growing up. Nobody is going to hand over power voluntarily. Why would they?
In the late 1950s, an interfaith group called the Fellowship of Reconciliation told King's story in a comic book. Half a century later, the story was told again in Arabic.
The American Islamic Congress translated that book into Arabic, and people can download it. People are very excited to have it as a tool to help them in their struggle. The young people in Egypt during the revolution were reading the comic book, and the old people also. They remembered Dr. King. They remembered his legacy. And they were looking at the pictures and they're saying, oh, we remember that guy. He's from, when we are young. And he's inspiring our young people here to take the same action, the nonviolence actions, towards gaining their civil rights.
All great men, all great women have flaws. We can focus on those in an attempt to try to denigrate their achievements, or we can just try to understand that they are, at the end of the day, human beings. What endures is his work.
Say that I was a drum major. Say that I was a drum major for peace.
I think in terms of King's goals, he was a radical. King wanted nothing less than love around the world. He used to talk about how only love could cast out darkness, right? That's a pretty radical concept.
I don't know that I'd try to label him.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper.
But in my view, he was a great American who became a powerful example of the rest of the world.
I want you to say that I tried to love and serve humanity.
Oh, he was a radical. He seems less radical now because he changed this nation. Radical isn't necessarily a negative term. If what you're about is trying to make this nation live up to its founding ideals, it was radicals who founded this nation.
I've looked over and I've seen the promised land.
Well, I think Dr. King speaks to the need for every citizen to stand up and create the America that we all dream it could be.
I may not get there with you.
We're not there yet, and perfection is always difficult because we're humans at the end of the day. But it's the striving to get there that I think makes us American.